Well, it's great to be here today with the Capital Network as part of the emerging ASX GEM series. Today, I'd like to talk to you about the critical importance of battery-grade lithium chemicals in the European Union and how Infinity's fully integrated San Jose lithium project will be powering a sustainable future in Europe. Please take a moment to have a look at the various disclaimers, as I will be making forward-looking statements and representations about the San Jose project. The San Jose Lithium project is a fully integrated lithium project located in Spain, approximately 3 hours from Madrid. The San Jose fully integrated project will use Europe's second largest hard rock lithium resource to act as feedstock for a large-scale lithium chemical conversion plant to produce close to 20,000 tonnes of battery-grade lithium chemicals over a 26-year period. The requirement for lithium chemicals is urgently required in Europe to power this move to electric vehicle adoption, primarily for the use in high nickel content cathodes. At a project level, we have just returned from Spain, having negotiated the initiation of the permitting process, and this has been done in collaboration with local stakeholders and the regional government. The regional government of Extremadura has also recently ratified a lithium decree law, which essentially requires all lithium that is exploited in Extremadura to be converted in Extremadura. So ultimately, the San Jose project acts as a blueprint for all future projects. We have a board that is now primarily based in Europe, close to the project, and we have a highly credentialed Spanish CEO that was appointed earlier this year, driving much of this local engagement. We have a highly credentialed and experienced technical team that has been involved in a number of lithium chemical conversion projects. So we are ideally now placed to progress the San Jose Lithium project into production for 2026. At a corporate level, we see close to 416 million shares on issue and ultimately a market capitalisation of close to 92 million Australian dollars. We have close to $16 million cash in bank at the end of financial year. So an overview of Europe sees a very significant requirement for battery-grade lithium chemicals, more than 800,000 tonnes by 2030, really against the backdrop of global production of less than 700,000 tonnes of where we sit today. This is highly concentrated in China. China will be the largest producer of electric vehicles, lithium-ion batteries, and ultimately require the greatest amounts of battery-grade lithium chemicals. So there is really a global race at the moment to secure these key battery-grade lithium chemicals for the use in high nickel content cathodes. This strong EU demand is against the backdrop of more than 1,000 gigawatt hours of lithium-ion battery plants in construction or projected by 2030. Europe is now moving aggressively towards strategic autonomy for these critical materials and seeking to exploit lithium, nickel, copper, and other critical materials within the European Union. Against the backdrop of ongoing geopolitical tensions and supply security, globally, more and more markets are looking at localized supply chains, and Europe is no different in this case. Europe is now aggressively moving to adopt a Critical Raw Materials Act and to announce strategic European projects, which will facilitate accelerated permitting and access to unprecedented levels of funding. Lithium is already recognised in the European Union as a critical raw material, so it's clear that lithium will cornerstone this move towards electrification. At a regional level, we've seen the Extremaduran regional government pass a lithium decree law. And as I stated previously, this requires all lithium that is exploited in Extremadura to be converted to chemicals in Extremadura. This declaration of a lithium decree has also seen now projects of this nature, such as San Jose, which is fully integrated, recognised as projects of regional interest, and this has various advantages. Most importantly, this notes an accelerated administrative processing or permitting application process, which is relevant to us as we start to now look forward to discuss some of the catalysts that will be available to our shareholders. The permitting process has been initiated following our recent trip to Spain, and this has been done in collaboration and consultation with the regional government. We have lodged what is seen or is known as an initial document, and this is an environmental impact assessment scoping document. We are collaborating with authorities to determine the key characteristics of the project, including the location of the downstream lithium chemical conversion plant and the nature of our tailings profile. We expect to have feedback from the government before the end of the year that will determine the key requirements to lodge our exploitation concession in Q1 next year and facilitate an accelerated pathway towards a permitting outcome. The project itself sees various sustainability credentials, which is all important in the European market as they strive towards zero carbon footprint products and against the backdrop of a move under the EU Green Deal. Furthermore, the European Union will be governed by a battery passport, which measures the CO2 profile of all batteries within the European Union. We have recently redesigned our project to move underground from an open pit, and there are some very obvious advantages in that, both in terms of local engagement and in terms of sustainability credentials. The move underground follows the historical nature of the location of the resource. This is a tin mine from the 1960s. You can see the shafts, the dilapidated buildings, and ultimately the move to an underground project receives the strongest support politically and from the local community. The move underground also facilitates the return of much of the waste underground through paste infill, with more than 60% of the waste material now returning underground. The surface tailings are primarily dry stack, so that allows us to continually rehabilitate the site. And how we facilitated that is through the development of a patented process that allows for the recycling of key agents and the introduction of sulfate in the kiln. We're able to use this process now to provide a much more sustainable process and step away from traditional hard rock lithium chemical conversion processes that use vast amounts of sulfuric acid. Extremadura also currently speaks for close to 25% of Spain's photovoltaic power. So we are able to tap into this green energy to power our processing plant and move towards an electrified mining fleet. We are also working closely to consider the adoption of green hydrogen with TSN, a global leading expert out of Germany, and ultimately that can further reduce our carbon profile through the mix with natural gas to power our kiln. In terms of proximity, we have the resource and the conversion site located on site. Ultimately, they're 1.5 to 2 kilometres apart. So we have a very small carbon footprint when compared to other lithium mineral extraction projects globally that move that resource to other markets or other locations around the world for lithium chemical conversion. And ultimately, our end product will be in very close proximity to these key EU end markets. So ultimately, a much lower carbon footprint in terms of transport costs and also in terms of transport footprint. Our project itself sees very robust economic highlights, highlighting a pre-tax NPV of close to $811 million US based on 100% project ownership. It's important to note Infinity currently holds 75% of the project with a call option to move to 100% of the project at any time prior to the final investment decision. The pre-tax IRR also highlights an incredibly viable project, noting a conservative pricing assumption when the study was undertaken in Q4 last year at US $17,000 a tonne for battery-grade lithium hydroxide. The current spot market sees close to $80,000 a tonne and a longer-term outlook of between $20,000 and $30,000 a tonne. So there's plenty of blue skies in terms of the economic opportunity for this project and value to shareholders. We see a project that will produce under these assumptions close to 8 billion euros or $8 billion US as well in revenues and capex of close to $532 million US, including contingencies. This is a long life project over 26 years and a resource that remains open at strike and depth. So ultimately there's plenty of upside to scale up in the future. However, under our current analysis, we're assuming a project of 26 years. The project itself sees many key characteristics that are extremely important for the European Union and also for Spain to develop their own lithium-ion battery value chain. Infinity Lithium is creating shareholder value through the advancement of this world-class project to deliver critical raw materials and battery-grade products that are required for the European Union. We are ultimately going to be cornerstoning this move to electrification in Europe as they move towards total electrification over the coming decade.